Welcome into the Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. Just tell me a little bit about what your message to the team was after the game in the locker room.
Well, get some rest, get healthy, and recalibrate. We played some tough games the last couple of weeks. It's 10 games into the season. We're pretty banged up right now, but that's not an excuse to lose ball games. We got to correct the little things we need to correct. So while they're taking their break and getting healthy, make sure we watch a lot of tape, make sure we understand the preparation we need when we come back, and got to help each other out. We got to hold each other accountable, not just coaches, but players have to hold players accountable, and they understand that when they get back.
How do you make sure that the feelings from a game like this, I know you guys always have that 24-hour rule, but I know a lot of times also you like to have another game soon to try to get the taste out of the mouth, but when you have a bye week like this, how do you try to make sure it doesn't linger a little bit, or how do you also think about what you've learned maybe even last year about snapping a streak like this and getting back on track?
It's all about focusing on the little things, what we didn't do to win the game. When you lose a close game like that, hardly ever the other team beats you. We lost a couple games that we did some things at the end, and we did them last year as well. But we got to focus on the little things and correct those things in the second half of the season for us to win these games. We're in every ball game, regardless of who's playing, whether they're injured, or whether they're starters, whether they're healthy. We're in every ball game. We have a chance to win every ball game. We got to cut out the little mistakes for us to win those ball games.
I know injuries, of course, have been quite the story this season. What do you know at this point after the game about some of the guys maybe you'll get a chance to get back after the bye week, or also some of the updates of what came out of this last game?
I know Mike and Dean are getting better. We'll see how they work out next week when we start practice again. Tristan has a low-grade knee sprain. Thankfully, it's not more than that, and he'll be probably week to week, so we'll see how he feels going from there. Zion will get a hamstring MRI tomorrow, so we'll see how he's feeling.
And then also Baker's game. Tell me what stood out to you about his performance.
Just getting rid of the ball, throwing on timing, understanding what he's going up against. They have a very good pass rush, and when Tristan went down, we really started getting rid of the ball and playing a smart football game.
Tell me what went through your mind watching him on that 4th and 7 as he's stiff-arming Nick Bosa and trying to complete that pass.
He's gutsy. He's gutsy. He gave us a chance. It was 4th and 7. That was do or die for us. He got us another set of downs and gave us a chance to win.
And then I know his ability to evade sacks seems maybe more surprising than almost anything about his game, is how slippery he can be and how much he can make things like that happen. Is that something you already knew about him coming in here, or has that even maybe gotten better since he joined the Bucs?
I knew it about him. I didn't know how much, but certain guys have that knack. You don't have to be the fastest or most athletic. You have a feel for the pocket and understand when it breaks down and how to maneuver within that pocket. Baker's one of those guys.
As we talk about guys like Nick Bosa, we had mentioned, how tough their defensive front is. They got some really talented guys there. What did you see from the offensive line, both in pass protection and the run game, facing one of the better fronts in the league?
For the most part, I thought they did a very good job. They did a very good job blocking. They gave Baker time. Tristan was having a heck of a game before he went out. Luke was probably one of the more unsung guys over there. He's probably one of our best players on the team and probably in this league at right tackle right now. So with Graham and Ben and Cody, they did a heck of a job.
And then how did you see School step up in the wake of Tristan going down?
He fought. He gave up the one pressure, but he fought. He came in. The game wasn't too big for him. He made some good blocks.
And then also, what happened on the fumbled snap? Was that a miscommunication thing or just a noise thing? What kind of led to that?
Just looked like a quick snap, and maybe Barton heard one thing and Baker did another, but it was a quick snap and caught him off guard.
I know that there's the X's and O's side of injuries and when guys go down, but then there's also the emotional side in the moment in the game, when especially it's somebody like Mike, Chris, Tristan, people that are sort of the bedrock of the team in so many different ways. How do you try to help the team, even in the middle of the game, and then also following it, deal with the emotional side of it being their friend, their leader, their captains?
Oh, it's huge, and most of the guys want to play because they don't want to let them down once they get hurt. They play even harder when somebody like that gets hurt. You never want to see it happen. It's very unfortunate. Obviously, you got a leg rolled up on a little bit there, but they played hard after that. They played a lot harder after that.
We know, especially the 3 games before this one, Cade Otton had just been lighting the field on fire in terms of both catches, yards, all sorts of things. Had 5 catches early, and then that was about it for the rest of the game for him. What did you see that he was doing well early in the game, and then what were some of the things that shifted or changed about maybe how the 49ers were playing it that shut him down a little bit later?
Well, he could always get open. I think later in the game, he had a good mix of zone and man, knowing he was the guy to throw to, and they kind of doubled down on him a little bit more.
First game of the year that we didn't get a touchdown in the first half. What did you see that either the 49ers were doing well or that wasn't working as well for us, especially early in the game?
We had our opportunities. We weren't good on third down offensively for the first time in a long time. We weren't good on third down, extending drives, and that kind of got in the way of it.
The wide receiver group as a whole only had 4 catches in the game. Do you feel the need to get them more involved, or thankfully there are so many other weapons that have been doing really well in terms of people like Cade, like the running backs, or is there, do you worry about trying to force it, or how you can try to use these guys a little bit more depending on especially when and if Mike comes back?
Well, we tried to get them involved a little bit more, but when Tristan got hurt, obviously we had to do more protection type of things, and going down the field against that pass rush requires you to have a lot of protection for a long time, and they were getting back there as the game wore on later on, so we had to do more quick passes than normal, but we definitely plan on getting them involved.
I know Rashad had his touchdown, which tied Warrick Dunn and James Wilder for the second most receiving touchdowns by a running back in franchise history. So take me through that touchdown and then just kind of what that stat says to you about his ability to get in the end zone that way.
Well, it was a quick screen. He made a heck of a jump cut once he got the ball to create some room for himself, and right there he slithered into the end zone. We know what kind of receiver Rashad is. Excellent hands, excellent feel for the game once he catches the ball.
And then Bucky's, he had a touchdown, and then especially the 2 plays right before that for 8, 14, and then his 12-yard touchdown. That's his 4th rushing touchdown of the season, which tops all rookie running backs. Take us through his touchdown and then also just that drive, how important he ended up being.
Bucky has great vision. He has outstanding vision, and most of the time, as you can see, he makes the first guy miss. And anytime he can make the first guy miss, he's in for a long yardage run, and he did that during that drive and during the touchdown.
I know after that touchdown drive, he and Rashad had 139 of 198 total yards of the offense at that point, and the team has passed 100 yards rushing for the 7th time this season, 6th time in the last 7 games. Just speak to their consistency a little bit between the 2 of them and then the run game overall. After that was not a stat these last couple years to be able to start, just doing that over and over again on such a consistent basis.
I mean, it's a good mix. It's a different way to move the ball. They're different type of runners. They're both valuable when they're in there. Rashad's more of a hesitation, slithery, cutback type of runner. Bucky's a one-cut runner that can make you miss, and they're a good 1-2 punch that way. And with Sean, you have a third one, and they both can catch the ball out of the backfield.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back on the Todd Bowles Show. Welcome back into the Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. Tell me a little bit about what happened on their final drive that ended in the game-winning field goal and what now in hindsight, kind of looking back at that.
They made some plays in the passing game on the outside. We missed a tackle. We missed 2 tackles, actually, which got them down there, and we got to have more pressure on them. We got to have more pressure from the outside, talking about the corners. We just got to play tighter.
We knew that the 49ers are a team that can be really stubborn about running the ball, have a lot of different options and ways to run the ball. What did you see from your run defense, and especially just what you guys had prepared for and the way they executed, what your vision was for the run defense?
I mean, after the first 2 or 3 plays, I thought it was pretty good. Those guys average about 150, 180, almost 200 yards a game rushing the football from the tape we've seen, and to keep them to 75 yards, I thought the run defense held up pretty good.
And then how about third down defense and red zone defense? What stood out in those situations?
Third and short, I did not like. Third and longer, we were better. Red zone defense, one time he got the touchdown to Kittle's. He had a little bit too long a scramble. We got a plaster longer in that case, but we still made some plays down there and we gave ourselves a chance.
And we had talked before the game about how McCaffrey and Debo are both just so multifaceted and where they can put them and what they can do. How do you feel like your team handled the 2 of those guys, knowing that they are 2 of the more explosive and interesting type of offensive players you might face?
I mean, they were going to make some catches, but I thought they competed, especially Izien. I thought Izzy did a great job of getting hands on receivers all day.
And what did you see from Josh Hayes in coverage?
Josh broke up a bunch of passes in the first half. 1 or 2 he'd like to have back. He'd like to have a penalty back, but he competed. He fought. For his second game back, I thought he played a lot better than last week.
And what did you see from the overall tackling, knowing that, again, this is a 49ers are a team that have some very elusive guys. What did you see on the tackling front?
I thought we missed too many tackles and we missed about 4 or 5 that went for longer yardage. They were like 5-yard passes that went for about 17 or 20 plus that we got to shore up on tackling.
What's the challenge in that when tackling isn't always something you can work on as much in practice due to all of the different contact rules and obviously wanting to keep your guys healthy during the season? What are some of the strategies to work on that mid-year?
It's more or less angles than want to. You got to understand, you got to wrap up in this league. Nobody's going to go down if you just push them. You got to wrap up in this league. We understand that. We got to be better at it.
And what did you see from Zion before he went down for his injury?
Zion played tough, but he didn't tackle like he typically tackles, so you can see something was wrong with him. I think he missed about 3 tackles in the ball game. If you take away that, he had the 2 penalties, so it wasn't one of his better games, but he still made some plays for us.
And how about Funderburk when he had to come in once that injury had happened?
I think he came in a little timid, and we talked about it, man, talked about it all week during the game, and he's got to play tighter, he's got to play tougher, and he's got to let it rip. And for him getting action for the second time, really, without any training camp or anything else, he's still learning the game. He's going to be a good player, but it's going to take a little time.
And Greg Gaines got in there for a sack. Take us through that play and what he did well.
Greg made a heck of a play. He kept working. He had time to throw. The secondary did a good job covering. Greg came around the end, and he got a sack.
What are the things maybe that he adds to the defense that we don't always realize? I mean, when you're playing behind a guy like Vita, you're just not going to be the one that always gets the attentions or the reps. But when there were injuries earlier this year and just in general when he gets in, however often that is, what has he brought to this defensive line?
Well, other than toughness, he has surprisingly short area quickness. He can really shoot gaps and step from one side to the other and cause a ruckus up inside. And people don't really get to see that because they think it's Vita all the time. But Greg does a heck of a job down there.
And then take us through Joe Tryon-Shoyinka's sack.
I think the back tried to block him and chip him, and Joe ran through him, and he got the sack. He ran straight ahead.
And then Kalijah also added another one. What did you see from his sack?
Kalijah played well. He was in the backfield most of the day. He had like 5 tackles. He had a sack. He had a couple of TFLs. He played well. He's really coming in his own.
Yeah, his 2 tackles for loss on the day. It's the 3rd game this season with multiple tackles for loss, which is tied for the 3rd most in the NFL. What has led to him having that kind of a stat, and especially thinking back to when you guys drafted him, what you had hoped he'd be able to be in that area?
Just being healthy, you know, his quickness is there, his feel for the game is back. He uses his hands well. He comes off the ball and he can backdoor 1 or 2 plays and make a play when he needs to make it, but he has very good football instincts.
All right, we're going to take another break here on the Todd Bowles Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. I know you'd said that the game before this had been one of Vita's best all-around games that you'd seen in a while. How about this last game from him? What did you see?
Still pushing the pocket. He's great inside. They were running the ball out on the edge. He dominated inside, and he was getting close to the quarterback quite a few times. Didn't result in sacks, but it resulted in other people making plays.
How did you feel about just the pressure on the quarterback overall? We saw there were 3 sacks, and I imagine with a team like this where there are so many kind of things you're having to stay on your toes about and stay honest about, that to get after the quarterback in that way was probably pretty exciting.
With the weapons they have and the way he can move in the pocket and get out the pocket, you know, it's kind of tough. It was, you know, reminiscent of Mahomes, the way he can get out the pocket and make people miss. So to get 3 sacks on him, we could have got a little more pressure on him, but to get 3 sacks on him was pretty good.
We know George Kittle, always a tough one to go against. What happened specifically on his touchdown he got?
Now, the quarterback sat back there a long time. We got a plaster longer. He had quite a bit of time to throw the ball. He gave some time for himself in the pocket by scrambling. Hayes had him at 2 or 3 cuts, and he kind of made 4 or 5. And, you know, he threw a heck of a ball, made a heck of a play.
The rest of the game, what did you see on how the team approached trying to cover him? And then just in recent weeks, where do you think some of the maybe struggles against tight ends have come from?
In the middle zones, they've come from being middle zones wide open, biting on play action. But I thought they did a decent job on Kittles. The biggest thing was missing a tackle at the end of the ball game and letting them run. And we had them for about an 8-yard gain, and we missed it and let them run for about another 20. That's the biggest thing, getting them down on the ground. And I think we had that problem with 1 or 2 guys as well.
And we saw that you, again, were sort of platooning KJ Britt, JJ Russell a little bit. How did you think each of them did, and how is that platooning between the 2 of them looking so far?
I thought KJ did a lot better in the run game. I thought he was where he's supposed to be. He played physical downhill. JJ played downhill physical in the run game. He had the one bust in the pass coverage that we got to clean up, but other than that, he did okay.
Lavonte has moved now into third place on the most games played list in our franchise, just behind Rondé and Derek Brooks. Not too shabby there in terms of the longevity and those other names on the list. What do you credit that to for him, and then just where is he at this point now of how long he's been doing this and how he's able to still be in there contributing in such a big way?
Really taking care of his body, number one. You can't play that long without taking care of your body. Number two, he's so mentally tough, and he loves the game. It's something he grew up playing. He still treats it like he's playing in high school, and that's rare for a player. You either get bored or you get a bunch of money, you don't want to play anymore. He's not like that. Every day is like a game for him, whether it's practice or a game. He still loves playing. He's like a 16, 17-year-old kid.
And then Tyke Smith ended up getting a late in the week injury, and I think you guys probably were counting on him, of course, for most of the week to be available. How did that affect your game planning when that was, sort of late addition to that injury report and what you had planned on doing with him?
Well, he's a big part of our game plan, but I tell you what, Izzy stepped in and he played probably the best game on defense. I thought Izzy was very physical with the receivers. He covered, he tackled, he blitzed. He understood the game plan. He executed everything that we talked about during the week, and I thought it was one of his best games since he's been here.
All right, we're going to take one more break here on the Todd Bowles Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. Take us through that muffed punt and recovery on special teams.
Tavierre did a great job going down and throwing a guy into the returner. He's a very veteran type guy. He can do those type of things. He made a heck of a play for us, and he gave us a short field. It was responsible for 7 points. He made a heck of a play.
It feels like every time there has been a truly game-changing play on special teams, it's been him. And I feel like especially to not be a returner, it's one of the most impactful people I've seen in a long time on special teams. Would you agree with that? And what do you think has led to him just becoming such an integral part of that unit?
It's hard for me to give him a compliment because it goes to his head, and he may be watching, so I'm going to just say he's a very good football player. Todd wants to run jet sweeps. He wants to return. He wants to be a receiver. He wants to be a blitzer. And if I say he did a good job, then
he's going to want all those things.
He's going to come in with sunglasses with stars in them, and he's going to come in Hollywood. So he did a very good job, and he's a very good football player, and he's one of our best special teams players.
I like it. I like it. All right, so tell me your thoughts on the timing of this bye week right now from a health standpoint, from a momentum standpoint, from everything on a coaching. I feel like everybody always wants the bye week probably to be as late as possible is typically how a lot of people feel about it, but I didn't know your thoughts on the timing of this one.
Now, this time of year, I think this year, anytime you get a bye, it's going to be for health reasons.
Yeah.
Whether it's week 4, week 10, or week whatever, it's going to be for health reasons. But it's always good to get it to the middle of the end of the season, but that depends on your injury status. If you're healthy, you want to go straight through. If you're not, and we're pretty beat up, it came at a good time. Unfortunately, it came with a loss, but it gives us a chance to recalibrate and get ready for the stretch run.
And then tell me a little bit about the schedules that you have planned for your coaches, for the players, and how you guys try to maximize the bye week, both in terms of the health and getting their bodies right, but then also the ability it gives you to prep and look ahead a bit.
We're so beat up right now. We couldn't practice on Wednesday anyway, and they're mandated 4 days off. So after today, meeting-wise, they'll be off until next Monday. From a coaching standpoint, we have time to go back and self-scout what we do well, what we don't do well, what we can do, what we can't do, and kind of mold it for the second half of the season into that way, and then get ready for the Giants a week ahead of time because they have a bye week just like we do. So we'll both be coming off a bye, and then we get ready for the week.
What do you feel like is going to end up being some of the big takeaways as you do the self-scouting and as you just start to reflect back on the season to this point so far? What do you think are some of the big themes that are going to stand out?
Offensively, penalties, shooting ourselves in the foot, especially early on. Defensively, I think it'll be tackling, and it'll be big plays over the top from a communication standpoint.
Who would you say is maybe the most improved player on each side of the ball to this point in the season?
Offensively, I really think Gedeke is having a heck of a season. He had a good year last year. I think since he came back from injury, he's been on point. He's one of our best players. I think he's one of the best right tackles in the league. I think it goes unnoticed or unsung, but he's having a heck of a season. Defensively, he didn't play in this game, but Tyke Smith has probably had the best season over there so far. And he's had a heck of a year for us, and he sets the edge. He gets the ball out. He causes turnovers. He's a very good tackler for us, and he's a very heady football player.
Well, Coach, thank you as always for the time, and I hope you enjoy your bye week.
Thank you.